for the whole day. Because on Christmas Day, that's, when you have the traditional Christmas dinner and all of that. So Christmas Eve is pretty much our free for all lazy fun day. And we do that every year.
Great, thank you. I was muted. I'm trying to speak. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That sounds
It's like
fun.
being free and a lot
Yeah.
of yeah, snacks and food, and that's
Yeah.
really great. So yeah, anybody else
Mhm.
wants to join? Okay. Oh yes, I am amplified. Yeah. So I do live in Russia, and we have like different areas also. I'm sure as America as well, but I think America is a little bit more consolidated in different traditions and like tendencies, I would say. Yeah, but still, I'm sure that different states have different a little bit of different atmosphere to things. So in Russia, there are also many different regions, and like there are many different styles, and sometimes even like regions where there are different religions. And I think part of the reason why Christmas is not the main holiday, but the New Year is the main holiday, is that for a long time in Soviet period, like in Soviet Union, the religion was seen as something like as they say the narcotics for people. So that way, it was like rejected and thought as something that is contradicts the how to say like the spirit of like being together and social and whatever. So that's why a lot of people who were raised in Soviet Union, they're not very religious. So I think there's like more traditions, like in more attention around the New Year. But I think the traditions are pretty much the same in many countries. So we eat a lot of food. We meet with our family. I think in states like the Thanksgiving is more of a family a celebration. In Russia, it's always the New Year, and because there are 10 days of off work, people travel from all over the country to see their families, and that's really cool, I think, because New Year is the time when you can see all the people you know in your city, for example, because they always come back to visit their family, and there's a chance to see all of them in one place, which is almost impossible during the year. So, does anybody else want to share? What's the geography, by the way? I'm curious where everybody's from. I suggest mainly states.
I'm from Poland.
Okay, let me just give you a megaphone so that
What type
everybody
of
can
things
hear
do
you.
you guys celebrate? A Christmas style
Hold on,
thing
hold
in
on, hold on.
Poland?
One sec.
It's all about food mainly. It's
Okay.
food, Santa, dressing up as Santa, bringing
Mm-hmm.
presents,
Where did you
decorating
say you're
Christmas
from?
tree.
Can you
I
repeat?
don't think we have anything unusual. One thing maybe we have always one extra spot for unknown guest or a stranger. So if there is 7 people in the family, you
Mm-hmm.
prepare 7 places around the table. That's sort of tradition.
Oh, cool. Where did you say you're from? I couldn't hear.
Poland.
Oh, Poland. Oh, dobrze.
Yep.
I don't know much
Dobrze.
about.
Хорошо.
Yeah, yeah. I know only учителька, like a teacher. Somebody was like telling, oh, a teacher is this. And dobrze, it's like dobry, like in Russian. A good one.
Yep.
Interesting. Any other traditions? See one hand raised, so let me give you a megaphone. So Jeannie, hold on a sec. So by the way, when you speak, you only people who are close to you can hear you. But if I give you a megaphone, everybody in the room can hear you. So
Oh, interesting.
I'm sorry that happened by accident. I didn't mean to
that's
click
fine.
on the hand. Sorry, and I didn't see it.
that's
Gene, you
not a
got in
problem.
trouble.
So what do you think about traditions? What is your favorite? I would say like what is your favorite holiday in a year?
If I'm being really honest here, my parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, so I've never celebrated any holiday in my life. So we kind of do nothing in the holiday times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
you feel like you're missing out on something or no?
Well, in school and stuff, they always like had these events that were going on around holidays, and my friends would go to parties and stuff. Yeah, and I couldn't go because my parents wouldn't allow me to go. Oh, yeah, that was kind of a kind of feeling like I was left out, you know? So, yeah, not
Mhm.
Do
not
you still
much
feel
about
that?
it.
Are you an adult now? And if you are, do you still feel that type of way? Or
No, not really. Because I've never celebrated, I don't really know what I'm missing out.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's really unusual. I think I get that a lot when people talk about, for example, in Russia when recently people started celebrating Halloween, which I love because it's fun because you can dress up and have a lot of sweets and just like have this atmosphere of going back to childhood. And a lot of people reject that. They see it's something. Oh, it's not our celebration. It's something strange, alien to me. Or like some people who have different religions. For example, people who I know, even people who live in the States and they have Muslim religion. So that way they don't celebrate the New Year and all those things. So yeah, I think religion sometimes limits people from celebrating stuff. But I think the whole essence of celebrating holidays may have changed within like last maybe 40 years or something, whatever. What do you think about it, guys? Or there was flower. I think I gave you the megaphone, so
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
there you go. Mhm.
Well, when I was a kid, my grandfather on my mother's side, he had 14 children. And I remember when I was little, we would all get together, and it was just a big family, family reunion. My grandfather was always thrilled that he had his whole family together. This is sad, but the fact is, most of them are gone now. I have one surviving aunt out of all the family members that are left.
Oh wow.
So what? Yeah. So what it is, the situation I'm in now is I have a son and a granddaughter that live about 600 miles away. They're coming up next week. Now I'm divorced from my son's mother. We've been divorced for 30 years. But for Christmas, we get together. We become a family again for a week. And I look forward to that. I mean, it's my ex-wife and everything, but we do the grandparenting thing together. It's a throwback that we both have, that we share with each other because of what we have in common, our grandchild and our son that we love. We're trying to give them the best memory we can of a family reunion that we used to have when we were children. And so we work with what we have. So, I'll be with my granddaughter and my son next, and with my ex-wife.
Yeah,
Which
that
is
sounds
fine.
like good connection time. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There was a time my ex-wife and I couldn't even stand each other, but we've outgrown that and kind of moved on, and we try to do what's right for now. What's right, and so far it's worked. So I'm not complaining at all about it. It works for us.
Yeah, I remember you had a long story with marriages. So yeah, it's really hard
Not a very
sometimes
good one, but
to stay positive if you have something you have to.
If I had to visit all my ex-wives, that might be a problem. But since it's only down to one, I can handle that one.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure. Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard to see. I think many marriages they end up being with divorce. I think because you always have to stay a lot of time with the same person, and our brain doesn't get excited when you have the same thing every day and like the same person, and I think some problems they just build up over time. But it's really cool when I see families who can still keep some friendly relationship after they're divorced. I personally, I can't imagine that because like you divorced because of some problem, and maybe probably because a lot of people, they don't get divorced when they're still, able to stay in friendly relationships. I don't see that too much, but I really admire people who can still, work things out after
Well, I
that.
think we both outgrown and moved beyond the reasons that we got divorced. I've been through a couple of marriages since then. She's been in a marriage since then. We've the problems that we had then don't exist now.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so now we can celebrate what we do, what we still have in common, which is our son and our granddaughter. So that's what it's all about for us, for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I know I get a lot out of it, and I know she does too.
Yeah, cool solution for that. Yeah, okay, so I have another hand raised. Fuzz, right? Let me give you a megaphone.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Oh, you do have a megaphone
Hey,
already.
Fuzz.
Yeah, you gave it to me a few minutes ago, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Yep, thanks for your politeness. So,
Well, it's hard to talk about these festivities and religious things. I mean, it's because the scope of it all seems to be like, I can't say any of these things that I grew up with is part of the religion or tradition in a sense, because I don't speak for a community. My parents were from two different backgrounds. They met in Canada, but my father grew up in contested Cyprus. He was part of the northern part of Cyprus, which is Turkish Muslim.
Turkish, yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but because they're the island people, usually with any country, whether it be Japan and their islands, the island people tend to be a little bit wackier than the rest, right? Whereas the traditional Islam in Turkey didn't have as much power in Cyprus. They were more secular in a sense. You know what I mean? My introduction to Christianity, at least when I was growing up there, was in the form of the UN. And when December came around, the UN would have some people over, and they would give out Legos and things of that sort. And as a child, for me, it almost felt like it was something that I didn't feel like I belonged to. Almost like an egalitarian, kind of like an elitist group that kind of came into our country and did these little things, right? But as I got older, I kind of understood the differences between the two faiths and also the unison between the two. Like I grew up both being Abrahamic. The one thing the Turks do is they do Bayram. Bayram is pretty much Eid. So when Abraham, did circumcisions and all those things, and that's where we would, as Turks, get our little gifts. We would have these weird traditions where it was a mix of of Islam, but also reinterpreted with a German twist because of the Ataturk's Reformation. So Turkey went from being Arabic writing to using German, umlaut, and changed to more of a kind of westernized version of Islam. It was really interesting, at least for me, to go through that. We ended up moving from Cyprus to Canada in the late 80s, and there is when we became a lot more of the multicultural of Canada, and seeing how that was affected all of us. The tradition of Christmas became less about the religion, but more about the capitalistic aspects. Like me and the family we had here, we'd celebrate it, but not in the sense of going to church. It was more like, hey, look, every other family is doing these things. They're getting together, they're having these meals. And we want to also have those kinds of things too, because the winters are long. You know what I mean? We have the solstice, we have the shortest day of the year. And I think as a species, we all need that time to get together to help us get through the darkness of these long winters. You know what I mean? Our sadness grows because we see less of the sun, that great Sol Invictus, that great unconquerable thing that is forever, watching over us, But I think when it comes to religion, it's hard to pinpoint nowadays because it feels like there's never one thing. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's beyond our language. Our language is so impregnated by the history of whether it be, feminism or like putting words to have masculine or feminine meanings, or a word kind of has an association to monarchical rule or a hierarchical sense of capitalism. It's all messed up, and it's hard to pinpoint because our language is so vague, and I feel
Yeah,
like
and
these.
different. All the languages are different. As I know that because I teach English in Russia, and that I always pay attention to different little minor details. And different cultures, they have different vision of things, and it's curious how different cultures, because of that, and well, I disagree to people who say that language actually affects our thinking like one way. I would say it's both ways. Like the culture of the like the specific traits of culture are trapped in the like as artifacts in our language, and that language actually builds and influences each individual as we grow up. And I think that's really cool
But
that we can have access
but
to
there's
different
there's no
languages.
mhm. There's
Go
no
ahead.
logic. Logic is inherent in the language, though. I mean, you look at English. English wasn't my first language. I love it. My mother spoke it, but when I came to Canada, I was in my ESL class with me and two Min Trins, Rizwan Chowdhury, and it was a whole hodgepodge of everyone being alienated but together, through some kind of solidarity of no one really knowing what the fuck was going on. And then all of us trying to pick up this language, which was the bastardized version of Germanic and French. You know what I mean? It's like here
Yep.
we are with 9 different ways of saying pig and cow and sow and whatever the fuck it is. And it's like there's no real truth in the language. And I think what it comes down to is like, how do we go past it though? It's almost like rebuilding a house without knocking away the foundations. You know what I mean? Like, what do we have to do? Is go back to Indo-European languages of some sorts? Like do we start using dots and hashes because everything else is so impregnated with history and oppression and power?
I think it's impregnated because of our personalities and about because of our thinking. I think I still think that language is a reflection of the way we think in some sense, and I think that the language is impregnated. I like that word because of us. We have those flaws in our thinking sometimes. If you think that they're flaws, I would say just features. And I think that we have to work both ways. Some countries, they use the language to manipulate the way people think. For example, they change the same notion to some other one that sounds more docile or more hostile sometimes. And it happens every day. The language changes naturally, and plus to that, sometimes it's like nudged by some, groups and maybe institutions. Who
It
knows?
feels like it's nudged. I mean, let's talk about the word smell or stench or fragrance. All of these words had more of a better meaning for this. Back in like Renaissance days, when you talk about someone's stench, it was not a bad thing. You know what I mean? And I think what it comes down to is every new generation of human beings try to take something and make it their own. And they're like, well, shit, my granddad said this. I'm not going to say stench. Ew, that's weird and old. I'm going to say fragrance. Oh, well, I don't want to say fragrance because all fragrances to me remind me of Glade, and therefore it's mass produced and yet, and I feel like what it comes down to is not a logic, but a boredom on humanity's aspect, and almost as though we're all trying to like identify ourselves as being here and now, and trying to retain a sense of who our parents and our ancestors were, but also to identify us as here we are now, like, and I'm going to remake the world in my own way. And it might be through language, and we have the younger kids nowadays with making up all these crazy words all over the place, yeets and whatever. It's because that's their way of creating the landscape. It's the language is the territory,
It is like everything else. I think the society, the culture, the internet artifacts that we create, like our digital copies, basically in the world. We always produce something, and it's like a transformation that we have, like a huge cycle of life, because we get something from our ancestors, like our languages, but at the same time we change them and try them. Like every teenager wants to contradict and like say, oh, I'm not going to use something that my parents and grandparents do, because this is the period of trial, of testing things that are viable, and maybe inventing something that is more viable. So yeah, I think this is a big circle of changing, and changes happen, I think, step by step, but not even step by step, but gradually. Like, so I think that's part of the oh, another question for you. As you say that language is not, as far as I understand, like not very effective for communication and like of thoughts and everything. What would you see as an possible an alternative in the future? Like, do you have any ideas of what you would like to see?
What I would like to see, I took myself off of megaphone.
Hold on, let me give you a microphone once again. Pause. There you go.
Well, my own personal, and obviously I'm on a little soapbox now, and the more I talk, the more people are going to drop out of here because I'm too preachy.
That's
But
fine.
what
That's
I
fine.
found in reflection to myself is like, who am I and what am I? And then it's like, okay, well, I could have all these stories of who I am and how I try to identify, and it's just like, I think what I've come to, at least my own, what I've absorbed, and because I can never say it came from me, because all these ideas are maybe amalgamations of religious theory, science fiction, philosophical matters. You know what I mean? And what it comes down to when I think of myself is, I'm a human being with 5 senses, and the majority of the world is chaos to me. I create a narrative at all times, and this narrative usually is in the form of a map. And these maps can be physical maps, they can be social maps, the hierarchy of how we interact with one another. And when I think about language and how we communicate, so much of the words we use are vague. I can keep talking for an hour, but I don't really say much, because there's like it's like the variable is so it's like we're saying every time I say something, it's like an infinity. If I say God, it's so everything that is nothing, right? So
And
when we
it's
talk,
also different for each person who hears that word from you, based on what
Exactly.
that window
What
of
I-
things
what I mean
that
to-
we are able to accept.
Well, once again, like the word itself, and I think this is where the religions kind of echo. They don't. It's not about the word, and this is where we have the postmodern philosophy of like, the figure. I'm sure didn't want to be associated with being crucified. You know what I mean? It's like we kind of keep making stories, and the story we have sometimes is removed from what it originally was, and then it's almost like it changes and it no longer is what it, what I mean to say is these words have lost value to us. We can all sit here and debate, what is truth and whatever, but none of it is really truth because it's so vague. It's not a number. It's not a mathematical unit that I can say like, oh, that's what love is. Love is this quantity. It's so ethereal. It's hard to discuss because in the end, it's subjective. You know what I mean? It's like talking about love.
Yeah.
Oh, is it love that you have for a cigar, or is it the love you have for, it's, yeah. Well, okay, so going past, how do we, what do I think would be the next? I think the post-humanism in the sense of using these tools that we have now, and even these forums where I actually have to stop and let you speak, is going to help me communicate better. Because whereas the different medium, whereas like Facebook, and you put something online, you're like, I think this, and then I'm like, oh, I think C or whatever, and then everyone says whatever they want to say, but no one's really listening. Everyone's just waiting for their turn to like dump their stuff into the stream. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, look, there's mine. There's my thought in the parade. Whereas in here, I have to actually stop, listen, maybe shut myself up, and then
Exactly.
work with it. And I know it sounds like it's all the same, but it feels so different because I have to shut myself up.
It
Which
is
I'm not
different,
doing, but go
and I
ahead.
think it's a combination of both. Saying, well,
Yeah.
always the motivation can be also different. Sometimes people speak for, taking their ground, like not taking the ground, like just proving that they exist. I think some people, they just like try to prove that they just exist, and that's why they want to take the space. They want to, indicate themselves. And that's why maybe probably they don't listen to people, because they want to speak, because they want to show that this territory is their territory and they exist. They want to prove that to themselves. But if you really want to say something or express something, like maybe to be a protagonist maybe in your own life or lead other people, sometimes I think there are different types of people. And some people are like they prone more to listen, and some people, they prefer to speak. And I think that everything can exist if I think when some people speak, it's because there are many people who like to listen. And also there's no rule that you have to keep to only one, behavior. You can always change and like try different things. So I think the interaction and the balance, again, I think everywhere the balance is the key. So moving that balance is another thing. Like the percentage of things and that gradual change, as I said, is in numbers. I would say I see things in numbers and trees and maps, and I think that the different ideas, different things, they appear in my head in different scale schemes and different types of information. But it's just my way of trying to fathom the world and live my life, because we always think about these things where I think we think about the meaning of life and our existence, and that's why we always try to, find that little spot in the world where we belong.
I think we're stuck between like the symbol and like it's almost like when I do imagine a tree, you know what I mean? Or if I show you like a symbol of a tree, it's like everyone doesn't really see that symbol. They see something else. Oh, well, I see a conifer, or you see a maple tree, or you see something else. You know what I mean? And it's to say, what is the most truest tree? It's not. You know what I mean? The symbol kind of like the symbol should never be a one truth. It's about the concept. It's almost like a syllogism, you're combining ideas together, but none of them are all is impermanent and all is without self in that sense, that Buddhist mantra, like even though a word means something, it doesn't mean it forever, it's like a stone, it decay over time. I don't know, I'm fucking pontificating over here though.
No, but we need those symbols to. I don't see any hand raises, so that's why I think we can continue the conversation once. Oh, there you go. We have some hand raises.
They're like, oh god, here we go.
Two hand raises, nice. People figured out that they can hand raise their hand.
Someone jump in.
Good. So let me give some megaphones to people. Tin Man and Meta Drifter. Tin Man, welcome. I've seen you last time, and it's a pleasure to see same names, same faces. So there you go. Share your thoughts.
Hi.
Hey.
I wouldn't say that Fuzz was pontificating. I'd say that he's articulating. And while on the one hand, I think that a lot of a particular region's language is shaped by the politics of the region or the politics of individuals in power, that we get to know a person over and above that by how they employ the language. And so the more Fuzz talks, the more I know him, and the more I know how he uses language. And so I think he's less in danger of being misunderstood than any of us.
I agree.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Let me give a megaphone to Venus 2021, and also Meta Drifter first. Okay. Oh, sorry, Meta Venus was on the other page. Sorry. Okay. So, hold on, Meta Drifter. Oh, you have the megaphone. Thanks, Mendes.
You already have the megaphone.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead, Meta.
No, sorry, I got rid of it, I think. I've only been in there a few days.
You lost it. How could you do that? How could you do that?
I lost it.
I'm gonna lose it. Okay, hold on. There you go.
Is that ready to go? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you.
I think we're not giving credit to our ancestors and the founders and the pioneers of the past. Language, though it may be limited, is necessary to move forward, and so we do have to simplify things as a collective. So of course you say a tree might not be a tree and it can change. Well, that's language again. We're still going to have to identify it, and as long as we're speaking out of our mouths, we're going to have language. Unless we start communicating on a whole new high being, which none of us can fathom that out now, because we're only part of our perceptive, what we perceive in life. Our brains are limited at the moment. We have a world, we have trees, we have cows, we have animals, and we name them. And in different cultures and different tribes, they use different sounds. Okay, so a cow is a sound. You say it's a word, but it's a sound. I'm making cow. In another language, it's called something else. So we have to make sounds, and those sounds have to, in order to function and move, describe something, because it makes it easier. Same way, if aliens came here tomorrow, we point to ourselves, and I say, I'm metaverse and you, and hopefully we start using hands as language. So until we figure out what we can do with something else, I think we have to respect what our ancestors have founded, because we've lost the languages of Sumerians and other cultures, Mayans and the Egyptians, and the writings on the walls. We can't decipher them so easy. So we need to collectively come together. But this is a simple world. As I said, once we start to explore outside of worlds, then we will find new things and we'll have new sounds to describe those. But I don't think we need to overcomplicate the situation and start, worrying about things in chaos. Chaos can be beautiful. Chaos is necessary. You think it's chaos. I think it's perfect.
Right.
Also, my father's Greek Cypriot. So we're both on the other sides. At one time, the countries, they were together and they functioned together. And then there was a line drawn. You said it was your country. My father says it's his country. But in the end, the country doesn't belong to any of you. It belongs to the world, the universe. Nobody can ever own it.
Exactly.
And then Aziz, I think, has
So
bowed
you
her
think
head.
you misinterpreted quite a bit.
Oh.
No, my father does not own anything. I don't think the Greeks owned anything. Before the Greeks, it was, like the Templars.
It's always
the
going to be
Egyptians.
exactly.
None of those things really mean anything in the long run.
We're temporary here.
Oh, of
We're
course.
temporary, and we need to come together as a species.
Well,
Because
and don't
we
get me
have
wrong
very
too.
much
When
in
I
common.
speak of chaos, I totally look. Life is chaos. I mean, we look at the Egyptians and their religion of the nine. They had the four primordial. So they're the primordial waters, and then the primordial waters are male and female, and in primordial waters there are three other sets of deities. And they were all formlessness, chaos, darkness, hiddenness. And then from the primordial waters came the one true God, which was Atum. And Atum was the great creator that came from that, the great nine. And it's like we see through the Egyptian, the hieroglyphs, whether through the Ptolemaic rule, so great, we got the Rosetta Stone. We knew that the Greeks took over. And because Ptolemy had a T in his name, we got all those hieroglyphs and we could, take the Rosetta Stone, which was just a list of buying goods or divination of land and property, and we could then use that to decipher so many different things. Now, will we ever really know? We won't, because we're still projecting. Even with history, all of history is a narrative. There's no truth. I mean, we talk about how far back we go, and it's based on isotopes. You know what I mean? There's this overlaying narrative that we put on reality that's not there. Like everything is chaos, and that's fine.
There's truth and belief. Truth and belief are very different.
Yeah, totally. It's like a placebo effect. Yeah, like I mean,
functionality and projection is necessary. So you have to project to function, to get noticed, to see, and so you have to start believing in something to find truth. So it's necessary. In the end, you can't. If we all sat in a room and didn't say anything, nobody's going to go anywhere. So we start.
I feel like you're misinterpreting. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying we don't need to use words. All I'm trying to say is there's too much power put into words as though they hold an inherent truth, which they do not.
But that's the thing. You're articulating yourself in a way that, if I'm interpreting you in the wrong way, is a confusion of language already. And so you're making it complicated if I'm getting you wrong. So you need to simplify your speech so that
that's what I mean. When you say, we're not going to use words, or as though I'm somehow saying I don't believe in faith. Don't get me wrong. The placebo effect is totally true. If I sit there in a double-blind test and you give me nicotine, or you give me like a sugar pill, and you tell me, this is either a it's going to give me some kind of like weird effect in my brain, or it's not. Like the placebo effect will make me have those reactions, and that is faith. It's that placebo effect, and there's nothing wrong with it because you manifest that and it comes out. And it's not to say that it's some supernatural power. That power is within you because it is a state of mind. It is a social contract that you break through.
Sometimes you have to live and enjoy the experience. Faith is another thing. A man that believes in faith and a man that doesn't believe in faith are somewhat equal. Because the man that doesn't believe constantly talks about why he doesn't believe in faith. You shouldn't even talk about it. Just enjoy the experience of life sometimes, the process. And I don't know if it was Aziz. What? Hold on, let me just check. Aziz, I think, were you in another room earlier?
Yep, in
The site.
Snow Crash.
I think, no, did you do the neurons of the brain?
Probably, yeah. The limbic system, the reptilian.
Yes, just before you left, you said something about how your reptilian brain and your the cortisol
Yeah, well, basically,
brain and stuff.
basically our
the amygdala
body,
and cortisol and fear.
yeah, our bodies
your
are like huge
bacterial
machines that actually have different levels depending on how long it took to evolve some things. For example, the reptilian brain is like the
complete
BIOS of
biosphere.
our body. It works by itself, so you don't die
The
because you don't have to
hypolimbic
control your
system,
breath.
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you need
So
that
then,
too.
if I start getting deeper into my body and start thinking, who's running me?
Yeah.
Is it
Different
my
levels of
hormones?
you.
Is it my? Yeah, exactly. And so it's so our brains are only half running, right? Not even that. So we still can't fathom it out, and that's why we need the collective past of information. Because in here now we get the chance to travel into different worlds and collectively get all the information philosophically, scientifically, and everything. That combined unity of language that is necessary so that we can grow and document and archive is necessary. There's no other way unless, like I said, telepathically, but it's still a neuron set. It's still a wave, a pattern. Yeah, he can't even think of a different way of thinking because everything he's thought is because of his perceived perception of what has been taught in the past. He can't think of something new. It's very hard to think of something new that's never existed because you can't perceive it.
It's almost
That's what
impossible,
I'm saying.
I'd say.
That's where the expansion comes and the exploration of the universe, and we'll see what comes as it comes along. But we're just not there. We are very much in our infancy of development as a human race.
Well, it seems like you're using a logical fallacy of call to authority. I mean, you're oversimplifying all of these things to a point, and you're talking to me as though I have no faith in something. I have total faith. I have faith when I get onto a plane. You know what I mean? And once again, faith is just a word, and we can easily, start using logical fallacies to like toehold something into something it's not. I never said that I don't have no faith, or that words don't.
No, but you said you were
we don't
gonna
need
use
words
tools.
anymore.
You said you would use tools in this world. You'll use the tools, and so we have to use the tools of our ancestors. We use the tools of our ancestors.
They're all one and the same.
Same way you'll use the tools within
their
here.
tools and my tools are all one and the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you say there's
what
no.
they had and I had.
Every word you make won't have truth, or it doesn't have meaning, or we can say, and what is the true
I
word?
didn't say
What
that.
is a tree?
No.
If it's a tree,
There's
a
no
conifer,
absolute truth. There's no the
a tree's
truth.
a tree. 2 + 2 could be 6 if you want it. If the first person that came along and created the language, that's why we have physics. People that make up things and try to find this. Does it exist?
Well,
they make up.
You're
They
once
come
again
up with an idea.
oversimplifying. 2 + 2 isn't 6. If we're talking about different mathematics, right? Okay, well, if we're going to be talking about like not non-units or like are we talking about are we measuring units in tens or 12s or ones or binary or non-binary? Mathematics is beautiful.
So I
but
don't
once
see
again,
numbers. I don't see numbers. I see patterns when I calculate. I see a puzzle and I fit it together. You see something different. Do you see blue when you see blue sky? Is it
Why
the
do you
same
assume
blue?
that I see something different? I feel like you're projecting so much onto me.
assumptions.
You are though. You're
say
saying
it's about
you see a pattern, but I don't know what you see. And you're saying I don't know how he talks about things, and he can never create. It's like you're projecting all these things onto me.
When I say he, who says I'm talking about you?
You were talking about me.
I didn't point at you. I didn't say. I'm saying.
Linguistic misunderstanding. Here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He thinks it's personal. It's an open statement of sound that I'm responding to, and it's confusing what he's saying. He says I do want to simplify because he's going on a deeper journey that's going to confuse his life. And so that's why you go back to the
Okay, so
that's of course. That's why you go back to the
cool.
ancestral things, and you do sometimes simplify.
Once again,
Sometimes I
this is
just
about
wanna
a
look
call
at
to
a tree.
authority. Instead of having a discussion, you want to say, well, let's not think about it. We have no idea. We can never know. Let's just trust the book. Let's trust the authority.
No. It's not about that. You're on your own journey of discovery as well within this world. And so, as I said, it's for me, I don't try to, there are tools that make my life simple in this world already. And I appreciate those tools that were here before me. So that's called, I can go to school and use those tools. I learn language, I learn to movement, colors, all things that make life easier to function so that then we can start to grow and expand from there. But whether there's a truth in it or not, I don't understand what you mean with that.
You know what I
I
would
don't
say?
understand what you mean. Is a tree a tree?
It's
What do
true
you
that
mean?
language.
Is a tree real? What do you mean? What does a tree mean?
That's exactly the point. And this is the same thing that the Buddha did when they held up a leaf and they were like, what's this? You know, what is life? There isn't. There's no ultimate truth to
But you
anything.
got that information from someone else. Where's
Of
your
course.
free thinking? You got this
My
from
free
someone
thinking
else. You read
comes
it out of the
into-
book, or you
that's
heard
right.
it from someone.
That's correct. Yes.
Everything you're
And-
talking has
That's
been
right.
spoken
That's correct.
before.
I
and
never
come to
said that I
pass.
came into this world knowing all things as though I am a god. That's not a statement I ever made.
Not
I am
one
the
person
human.
in this room is unique, with unique thought. Somebody's thought of it.
That's
Very
right.
few
Yes.
people come into this universe that are unique and create something
That's right.
very
Yes.
different. The
What comes
Einsteins,
down
the
to
Teslas,
is, look, I
Elon
didn't make
Musk.
red, but the fact is we can all
That's
take
not
these
me.
palettes and, you know, use these different ways of using these colors. Okay, well, I can do triadic color scheme. Oh, I want to do complementary color scheme. Yeah, I didn't think of red, but I can still use this palette to paint a picture, you know? And the picture I paint is a reflection of the tools, you know, and that tool could be anything from Photoshop to Instagram to, like, you know, and these things are, once again, pictographic superiority. So, and this is where we lose all things from words. We're going more pictographic than anything else. So as you're saying, we're becoming easier and simpler. So instead of thinking about an idea, because our world is moving from literate to an illiterate world, more pictographic. So instead of me
Else
thinking
want
now
the
everything is a
microphone?
button. You'd like to speak? Go ahead.
Can I ask what your purpose of that deep thinking is? What do you want? So if you look at a leaf, you can look into the constraints of a leaf. You can start to look at its system,
Guys,
how
we
it
have
came
a-
about, its photosynthesis, everything, the veins. But what's your thinking? What's your outcome of your deep thinking?
Outcome is this: human beings are, from what we've seen, a plague on this earth.
Pardon me, guys. I'm just interrupting your discussion. We have new people just came in, and
Sorry?
it's time to just give them a chance to
Give
talk.
in?
So they also could share their opinion in this event.
Thank you for that, Myla.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
welcome to
discussion
the
is really
theory of
deep, so I'm-
everything.
yeah, not interrupting, but
Yeah,
I think
I was-
it's good to move to something to find some common ground. I agree with you guys. You both have like interesting points, and that's the irony
very
that
interesting.
this is whenever we talk about some idealistic thinking. Like I agree that some systems are not good enough, maybe, yeah, but at the same time, it's the best that we have. It's the best system that we've got, and so far because I think early as I agree with the
Yeah,
the
we're
point
still
of view that
evolving.
we're in our infancy and we're like a little bit maybe arrogant of thinking that like we take things for granted. I make the same actually I get into the same trap. Yeah, okay, that's trap. Yeah, because I think that I always want to make the world better and like, you know, the world justice and like to give a meaning to my life, but like eventually when you think about the things, like the world has always been unjust and there's no justice in the world. It's just
Exactly.
my idealistic views makes me want, you know, to put everything in order and get to some like, you know, idealistic point, but unfortunately things are what they are, and this is the best thing we came up with. And maybe not only the solution,
enjoy the
but
experience.
yeah, the motivation. We have so many inventions that we don't use because we don't have any priority towards that. We have carbon, like there's so much talk about climate change and carbon footprint. there are technologies that can capture carbon dioxide from air, but we don't use it because it's too expensive, and we're not that close to death to do that. You see, we have the worldometer that runs like crazy, and we're getting closer to 8 billion people. Everything is fine. We live in a very safe I think period of time. That's why we get used to it like very quickly and take it for granted, I think, sometimes. And that's why we want to make it even more perfect. But I guess we have what we have. Okay, guys, it's been an interesting conversation. Maybe we can drop some change. Maybe somebody else wants to express their opinion. Mendes, maybe you would drop some change. Like that thing. What is this thing?
Oh yeah, I just put it there.
Oh, I can grab it.
Mylan, would you like to add anything? I'll give you a megaphone.
Of course.
Just gonna leave it here.
Maybe this is the topic that we are not talking about. I'm trying to tell about traditional holiday.
Yes, bring us
Whereas-
back to the conversation. Thank you. Yeah, the holiday traditions. Yeah.
As a different perspective, I would say there are new traditional holidays, I would say, in a new modern society. Like, say, as a software engineer, I would try to make like these kind of events for people who are learning in these fields, like game engine or creating a game or physics engine, so that what would I say, that share the knowledge within fun way. So it could be tell as a holiday, but indeed there is a lot more exchange, and then bring the real stress of the life into fun ways, and then bring a lot more chemicals via this way. It doesn't happen in a traditional way. We supposed to make cook something or bake something for everyone, but these holidays could be in a different way. So even a little bit of exchanging ideas is completely just new for somebody who was quite new in some areas. So I would say, as a different perspective, these kind of traditional holidays could be in future in a new way. So that was my
Thank you.
opinion about it.
Thank you for sharing that. I know for me, big traditions for the holidays is just spending a lot of money. And that's just something that I've watched, my mom doing, growing up, my uncles and all my family. That's what I do for my kids. Spend a lot of money on them. Yeah, I love to see how happy they are. But it's always bothered me. I don't know. In America, we have this thing called Black Friday, and it's the day after Thanksgiving. And so on Black Friday, people go shopping. And in the past, people have died, been trampled while shopping the day after Thanksgiving. And it's just a sad, but it's a tradition. Every year, me and my wife will get together and we're going shopping on Black Friday. And we've been together 9 years, and for years, we're up at 5 in the morning getting ready to go shopping, but COVID happened, and this year was the first year that there was no Black Friday, and it was just so refreshing. I was just thinking about, wow, so many lives were spared because we didn't, as consumers, go out and do what we do as a tradition every year. So that's the biggest thing for me around the holidays. I just always thought it was very tragic seeing how consumed we are with material items during at least this holiday period. That's all.
Yeah, that's a very deep thought, I think. Yeah, I think the pandemic had changed a lot of things, and in my opinion, in my personal experience, not to the best, because I like traveling, and I really um, depresses me that I can't travel to other countries. It has become very expensive, and it's like this is whenever my husband asks me, "What do you want the most for your holidays, like for your birthday?" and I can't think of anything that I want more than just traveling, like, because this is the most valuable thing that I always spend money for, and now it's not available, or it's so expensive that I don't want to spend so much money for that. It's like it's worth buying a car or traveling to another country for like 1 week, and it's gonna take up like
Wow.
1 year of my savings to just travel to another country, just because of the political change and like COVID over that. And I think the situation is getting worse and worse because of the country where I'm at, and the exchange courses and like all that political stuff. So that's really sad. But I think it's really cool that you shared that story that actually sobers people, and maybe some other people will think the same. Okay, I see one more hand raised. Maybe I can listen to some interesting thoughts. Oh, Fuzz, let me give you a megaphone. There you go.
Thanks. Actually, while Malin is still here, before he runs out, are you still here?
Yep.
Awesome. I really appreciated what you were saying about creating, using the game environment to almost create a new tradition where we're using, something where it's like baking or creating or a rite of passage or whatever it might be, well, can you speak or elaborate on that so that I don't project what I'm thinking onto you? 'Cause I have an idea of what you're saying, but I would love to hear you talk about it more.
Yeah, like say when you get into, I'm a lot more interested creating game and 3D stuff, like which is completely technical stuff. So you have to learn math and lots of science in this area, and whereas the game itself is completely fun stuff. You can just stay in front of your gaming computer or console, and you spend your life, time to enjoy from it. But creating these stuffs are not as playing. So meanwhile, there should be a lot more sharing ideas between the developers, so that you people who came into in this area could just learn. Someone who's just making tiny stuff in their life. So sharing just a piece of a program like they did before. So these kind of smaller part of the work would be a lot more informative for others who are just looking for it.
So
You know what I'm
almost like
saying?
you want to have a community where you, the developer, the back-end person who's very fluent in math, can
Hold on. I can't hear you.
I go.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is like you have this language where, because you're technically inclined, you can sit there and program in Java or whatever, using Unity to come up with this, and you're like, I want to create a community where people can come in and use you and relay information to you, so that maybe you can come up with something that like almost replicates what we do in the holidays, but it's like we're learning and we're growing and we're also spreading that love in a way, but in a more fun way and less like something, as you were saying, more inclusive. Someone that's never done this before, you can come in and still not feel alienated because you don't have the heritage or the history or whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Wait,
I had a question for Maya too.
That's what I mean.
Hey, do you guys celebrate Christmas style holiday where you're from?
Oh, I'm from Uzbekistan, where we celebrate New Year's, so 1st of January. But Christmas is not. Although I am not a religious side, I believe science. In my country, there are lots of religions, and we have but main citizens believe they pray for their religions are Muslim, and
So it's nothing like that over there, huh? I was
but
asking because to me, well, I was just asking, and what's popping in my mind that I didn't think about before I even asked was that here in America, holiday Christmas isn't even a religious thing here. It's just something everyone participates in. It's just capitalism here in America. We don't go to church or anything. I'm sure older people do, but I don't. It's not something we do. So I was just thanks for sharing that with me.
okay.
Yeah, I think that because the timing, I think that all religions had done that before, where they actually replaced some local holidays with the ones that were closer to that time. So I think this, winter solstice and things like pagans, they would probably like celebrate. I think any other a group of people would celebrate something related to the cycles of climate, because like you have harvest, you have abundance, then winter comes and then like, everything's cold and there's no food that much available, and the behavior changes a bit. And then I think those holidays were, if you take Celtic holidays for example, they took like there were four main holidays, and they all were connected to the seasons of the year, and like the amount of sun and like the climate and all those things. And new religions, I think that sometimes they have pretty much the same periods, and they have like they replace the old holidays that were that people were accustomed with some new names. So first comes name, and then like some minor changes into tradition, so that way people can seamlessly transit to something. So I think in some countries that's why the New Year and the Christmas is close, like by dates, like 2 weeks or so, and that's why in many, I think that's just like one large holiday that everybody has. It's like family time. You eat a lot. You spend your time with your family and enjoy some days off work. So it's pretty much no religion there anymore. I think it's just like, I agree with you that consuming stuff becomes more and more global, and I think all over the world we have Black Fridays in Russia, which is ridiculous. We don't have Thanksgiving. We don't have nothing. We don't even have black things and black people in the country. So, but Black Friday has become so popular even in Russia because everybody wants to consume stuff, and many people see their happiness as acquiring stuff. And I'm not sure I like that, but I have to live in this world.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not happy with it, but still,
don't
it's
like
the
that
best
at
thing
all.
we have so far. It can just buy you a little piece of happiness for a couple of weeks, right? You buy something. and you
Danielle?
just- Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a holiday, right?
My kids play this stuff for one day and
Danielle and
Thanksgiving,
Meta. Oh, there you go. Danielle, you have Danielle. How
Can
do you
everybody hear
pronounce
me? So maybe I can share this with you guys and see what you think,
it? Please do.
right?
please.
Originally I was working on a project based on a project called High Fidelity. Right now that's called Darling VR, and my back end API server stuff, everything is kind of down right now. But I was playing around with an idea. I made a system based on Electron, which is basically a web. It uses Chromium with Node.js and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. But I used some cool libraries using WebRTC to basically connect all the clients up in like a loose network, right? Anybody up to me? Okay.
I'm lost there, but
Yep.
continue,
So-
please.
So I have this loose connection of clients through WebRTC, and that I use to send messages like a world has been added, a world has been taken away, those kind of things. So randomly, arbitrarily, any client can say this point in space is a world, right? And other people can connect. And there, instead of using like a sparse WebRTC network, we use everybody connects to everybody. It's really heavy at that point because, you know, it's WebRTC and there's a bunch of connections, but it works. So, so I used a couple other libraries to make the world work. Basically what I made was a world system kind of like this, where you can build your own world, but there is no central servers or any of that kind of stuff. The only servers that have to stay up and can't change are what I would call, it's kind of like IPFS, where you have bootstrap servers that connect you up to the sparse network. But that makes a completely decentralized, completely community-owned virtual world like this. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's great. And
Yeah.
we have a nice.
So,
And
I don't know about
there
that.
are lots of free
Uh,
text, like
Can I just say, like, when we were
let
talking
me
about
get you the
language,
megaphone, Meta.
Thank you.
Oh, you got it.
When we were talking about language and how our connection with everything, it connects us, right? Because we can speak dialect and connect with it. The holidays are somewhat similar. You know, once upon a time, our ancestors created a somewhat collective, same time period of time that we all got a chance to take time off from that year and or throughout the celestials, and whatever way you want to look at it. How you celebrate your holidays as an individual is up to you. You don't have to follow a religious pathway or anything. But as I said, it's back to the ancestors, and whether it's religious or whether it's new capitalism and going out and purchasing, most of all these holidays are designed to be a collective, you know, feeling of togetherness. So the same way we could communicate and articulate ourselves with language, as primitive as language may be, we start to understand, and we can see within this group, when the language, we don't understand it and we don't know how to articulate it for other people to understand it, whether it's IT or deeper beliefs and more deeper words, longer words, we lose connection with each other, and then you see people dropping in and out when we lose interest in something we don't connect. So the holidays, for me, I view it as a coming together where people from around the world do similar things, and we can experience and share our similar experiences. You know, so we all put a tree in our house sometimes. Some people might do Hanukkah. Some like I was hoping to come and figure out new festivities and what everyone else does, so that I could have learned about some other traditions. But I'm more confused than ever now, as to most of the people seem confused. I don't get it. There's no outcome. It's confusion. And the chaos that I thought was lovely is leaving me confused.
Puzzled.
Because we're not connecting. Very puzzled.
Yes.
Because we're trying to distance ourselves. You can create your own world within your own world, and then sometimes connectivity and old-fashioned values bring us together. And I think the collective mind is sometimes better than the individual. When you pass and you have your own individual activities and festivities, that will surpass you far quicker than what the collective group has done. You know, like it's because of that collectiveness, the holidays have come together roughly at the same time. It's because of that collectiveness we have similar religions. It's because of that collectiveness. You can do it individually. You can do it where you like, but it will be forgotten when you go, unless you pass it on to your kids. but it's like social media. You know, who's a celebrity? Like the word's not going to get out there unless it became a new fad. Like capitalism is somewhat new, and it becomes Black Friday and people die during it, but it still has a purpose of collectiveness and engaging, so we can engage and talk about it. Do you get what I mean? Because as I said, that just left me confused. I think that was a sale pitch. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's primitive, but it's something we could talk about and discuss. It works. It works again. And I don't understand why we're overcomplicating things. On the individual note, it would be I would have loved to have heard real individuals. If you want to create your own festivities, I'd have liked to have heard that. I would have liked to have heard what people see. You know, maybe they want instead of turkey, they eat beef or a curry. You know, or they try a Mexican. You know, something that Mexicans do. I would have liked to have heard about what other cultures do. You know, not the worry of it, not the worry of the celebration.
Yeah. I think this. Well, first of all, I think on a collective stuff, I think that really makes sense because our again that dichotomy, or even more than that, that we have the conflict between our mind and our psyche and all other levels and our body, of course. I think that it's based on our need to be social, to be together with other people, and that's why I think the level of mental diseases is rising and growing because of this dissociation between different levels. We have more intellect, which is good. We have more processing powers, more multitasking, but I'm not sure it makes us happier.
But it separates us.
Yeah,
sometimes it separates us, right?
It does.
The more knowledge you get, sometimes it separates us.
And I would say
because
that
some people aren't on that same wavelength.
Yeah.
Some people aren't on that wavelength, and you're right. Sometimes the deeper thinking separates us. The more knowledge we get, the more distant. I think if you read somebody who spoke and articulated it in a better way than I could ever possibly, is Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator speech.
Oh yes.
You know, have you ever heard of that? I don't know if you could pop it on the video, but that's something poignant and something I try to look towards in life. That was a man that used his word and it encapsulates it what mankind is. And I don't know if you could play it for the rest of the within here to see it, because as I said, I can't describe. Yeah, Great Dictator speech by Charlie Chaplin. And it summarizes what humans are. We need to work as a collective. We don't work well on our own. We end up in quite tricky situations. So it's better to be sometimes part of something as opposed to an individual. I'm not anything special. As much as I may have fought my way into the world as a sperm and found the egg, and that's nice and all, but I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. I have no answers to that. I have to just go through the process. But yeah, his Great Dictator speech.
There it is. Yeah. We have pretty random
Thank you.
conversation today. Why not?
Yeah,
Let's jump in.
If honestly, if everybody could listen this is a summarize of how I feel. This is one of my feelings, and this man managed to do this for me long time ago.
Okay, let's listen to it. Why not? I'm curious.
I can't hear nothing. Turn it back.
I'm not even sure it has the sound.
It's on mute.
And white. We all want to help one another.
Oh, it's not very
We want to live by
audible.
each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone.
Hold on. Can I restart it?
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Okay, so what do you think, guys?
I like that. Charlie Chaplin was a Freemason, I believe, right? You know?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Okay, I see some hand raises from Fuzz and Bardal Swarm. Let me give some megaphones to Fuzz and Bardal Swarm.
Yeah, that speech is wonderful and beautiful, and every time I listen to it, it obviously brings a lot of emotion out. I really appreciated watching that back in the day and watching the full film and seeing how, like, the reason Chaplin did that was because Hitler was a fan of Chaplin prior to this. So then he went up and for his first speak, he did this beautiful fucking speech. And, like he was such a pioneer when it came to communicating through visual medium. I mean, him and Buster Keaton, like these guys are fucking amazing. And they've influenced so many, not just American film, but like Jackie Chan and how to use comedy and narrative and all these beautiful things. The thing that I love and I hate about that speech is it's the flip side to propaganda. You know what I mean? He says these beautiful things, but in the long run, it's still such a divisive topic. You know what I mean? Like
The same tool, exactly the same tool. It's still propaganda.
It is.
It says, don't fight
It is
for slavery, fight for liberty. That's the trick,
Sure.
because people
But at
don't
this-
understand what they're fighting for.
But it's funny because it's a mixed message too. I mean, when they establish virtues, it's like when we think about the great, World War II and what happened with the Nazis. Everyone always brings up the Nazis and they're the evilest thing ever, and of course because of everything that happened, right? But it's like what we do is we kind of block it out sometimes too. But the way that they came to power was through democracy. you know, and it became in a way of using the sophistry of using emotion to override a person's natural thinking capabilities, you know, using that reptilian brain. So as soon as I put in a little bit of fear or a little bit of hope, you know, it's all of a sudden I'm hacking your brain. You know what I mean by using these simple forms to like get a rise out of you. It's beautiful, but it's like, how do we see it for what it is and then move with it, you know, so that we use it for a better purpose, this propaganda, because this propaganda has only led us to this capitalistic society, you know. How do we give properly, you know, like is it just me giving you $100 gift card,
No,
or is it
I
about me
think
spending
you're
the time
always
to
gonna-
talk to you?
Again, I think you're always going to have the left or the right, the black or the white, the yin or the yang. And so how you propagate it, that is always going to be a sales pitch. It's how you engage with people's emotion to get input, output.
It's a narrative, and
so
I think it's very human.
eat
We all tell stories, you know, like you
for an
wake up,
outcome,
what do
you
you
drink.
want?
Yeah, but that's what I said. You need input, output, or you can just exist and do nothing.
Well, I
But
mean,
you still-
input output is,
you know, you-
like, I mean, I can just consume, but the thing is, like, I can sit here and I can go to Starbucks and I can get a coffee and I can get breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, second brunch, fucking like a hobbit, you know, whatever it is. All these things though are consumption, but it's like, at what point do I say, I don't necessarily need to put input, output? When is it okay to just be, you know, and not necessarily always be trying to digest something else?
Unfortunately, I think again, there's no justice in the world. As my friend said,
Yeah, there's no justice in the world.
Yeah, it kept me thinking when she actually said this phrase. She's like, when I was 5 years old, I couldn't. Every morning, I would wake up and think, "Oh, why do I have to wake up into this terrible world?" And she's like, for your information, she's like a vegetarian for many years, and she teaches yoga and stuff because she's that type of person, but not like, you know, for show. She's truly, genuinely that person, because at 5 years, at that age, she would say, I hated waking up into the world where I have to, just to exist, just for me to exist, something has to die all the time. I have to step on the creatures.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to eat creatures, that flesh, and that's really. She said, I every morning I would wake up and realize that something is wrong with this world. Not wrong. It's just like she said, I didn't want to wake up to this world because that's the way it works. Unfortunately, or fortunately.
Yeah, circle of life.
Okay.
Circle of
I
life.
thought about this speech.
Ultra
Just
funky.
need to-
Yeah, hold on. Let me give you a megaphone. Do you
Yeah,
have
hello.
one? No,
Yeah.
you don't. Oh my god. There you go.
Don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself because I think
muted
my megaphone echoes your sounds, guys.
Okay, am I on?
You're on now.
Hear me? Yeah. So this speech, what I heard when I was listening to this is that we need to sacrifice to get where we want to go. That's what he said. As long as there are men and they die and the other how do you say, the other like Hitler, I don't have the word now, the dictators, they will die, but you have to sacrifice to win over them, and you have to sacrifice lives. And the thing I think is a problem right now, that nobody wants to sacrifice anything. Everybody wants to live forever. So I just want to say, like, when you listen to this, you can listen from different angles, and I just want to say this, that he's talking about
Yeah, it's
sacrifice and nobody's
necessary.
willing to do it, and nobody's willing to do it right now. That's why we have a problem. At least it could be a piece of the problem. I wouldn't say that that's why we had the problem. But I just wanted to say that if you didn't think about that and listening from the other side, when I listened to it, I tried to see the other
Perspective.
What,
That's if
Yeah,
you put a
yeah,
chair in the
another
room and you
perspective.
see it from one side, you're not going to see my side. Perspective is
No,
necessary.
exactly.
That's how you get a 3D view of things, of life.
Yeah, but I think that
It's
maybe we
necessary.
missed
Well
that
said.
in this speech. That what it was really what I
was
heard
hoping-
at least what I took out of it.
Yes, I was hoping that you would take not everything literal from it, but mostly just an understanding of how the coming together of as a collective, you know, that the very nature of humans want to come together, be kind to one another and love one another. And it's with the obsessive rule and dictatorship that takes over. When you lose that, it makes things simpler. You're never going to, you know, people that just want to love, it doesn't work for some people. Some people like to be aggressive. Some people want to be, you know, in the state of chaos that they are. And that chaos isn't chaos to them. It's chaos to somebody else. It's their problem. So, you know, if you say a word to me and it offends me, is that your problem or my problem?
your problem.
Exactly.
And
You know,
then
it
I was.
offended me, so.
And,
But
yeah,
the collectiveness is what I was mostly hoping you would get from it. That we
but
have to
also when
stand
you say
together.
when you say about the collective, I'm thinking like this: you come to this world alone, and then you connect yourself to collective with culture and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's like cells; they cannot work by themselves, but they need to be together to build a body or a human.
Exactly.
But there can also be
Yes.
sick cells. So
Yes.
that is
And it's
things that we
necessary.
have to cure. Yeah, it's necessary. And we have to cure it, and whatever we're
Well,
gonna do with it. So it's always
no.
gonna be hard.
Yeah, but again, you're viewing it from then your side of it. A cell that kills is not necessarily a bad thing. It kills cancer. It would be a good thing. So
Yeah,
you know,
of
we have
course.
soldiers that kill.
Yeah.
We have soldiers that kill, and you wouldn't kill if well, you may. But what I'm saying is, if I was living in a tribe, and I don't want to kill whether it's a chicken or another human from another tribe because they're coming in to take what we've collectively got together, somebody in the group has to stand up sometimes to do things they don't want to do. And then, you know, suddenly somebody who enjoys murderous activities becomes a hero in that world because they became the hero because they saved us all from getting stabbed from another tribe. So again, something that kills isn't necessarily not needed. And I'm not talking just from a human point of view.
Yeah.
It's transitional change, evolution, the expansion of space, black holes, where it goes. You know, we don't know what's happening after death. Obviously, suffering is a very different thing. You know, suffering is not nice and unjust. But as I said, what's justice for one is injustice to another. When you oppress, you know, when you stand up for your rights, you oppress somebody else's. So, or you suppress their speech. So for me, I believe, like I said, not to overcomplicate too many things, enjoy the process, listen to everybody else, take their collective thoughts. I don't have to believe in them, but I think it does educate me. I appreciate this world. Without you right now, I wouldn't be having this discussion. I wouldn't have answers and more questions. And I really do appreciate your view, your sides, because as I said, it gets my brain expanding into thoughts I never thought imagined before. I couldn't have thought, I would have thought that until somebody threw something I didn't even imagine. People say about my interest, they said, are you interested in this? And I said, no, I'm not interested. I wasn't interested to come here. I came to seek. And I'm somewhat interested, intrigued by the thoughts. That's quite unique, but I don't want to be confused when I leave. I would like an outcome, you know, of a collective thought. It needs to be a bit clearer. And of course, I'm caught on the spot right now. So I didn't even know I was going to have this conversation. I didn't even want to speak up, but you know, I appreciate the collectiveness in here.
Yeah, no thanks problem. For sharing.
So this is like a new brain. The world, you look at world as a collective brain.
Exactly.
This is a huge brain.
It
do
is
this every
hard,
week
right?
too, so.
Like, go ahead.
I was just saying, I was just throwing my change. We do this every week, so I'm back next week too, you know.
Yeah,
This
every
is
event.
this is
Brave
actually
enough
one
and
of our
bold
lighter
enough.
subjects.
Yeah,
Depending
if
on
I'm
the
brave
combination.
enough and bold enough. But yeah, I didn't know where it was going to lead. I like to come out of it positive, though. Do you know what I mean? That's the main thing.
Yeah,
but as I
actually,
said,
I was going to say something about what you were talking about, and I think that my thoughts on this video and everything is this: that I think is there are two levels of tests, in my opinion. But the reality is that we probably see only the first level. We think, oh, it's so hard to understand where black and white is. Like, what is good, what is bad? And like we pass a very long way to understand where good is, because we're always focused on something like good. Bad happens, like, I think, naturally. But I think the thing is that there's the second level of the test, because as soon like the samsara, like if you think about the Buddhism, samsara, like any life is going back into the circle of life, and it like whatever choices you make, whatever karma you try to work on, you still are in the system, like in a rat race. Yes. And the second level, I think the second like scale, I would say, of choices is like not making choices. once you understand that there's no conflict between white and black, there's no conflict between good and bad, because this is like a bigger scale of things and bigger system, as you said, like killing killing is bad, but like when you think about the bigger system, killing sometimes is an act that serves a bigger purpose, and that's why sometimes you don't know that.
It's suffering is worse than killing. Suffering is worse than killing, because you need a doctor sometimes if you were at end of life to somewhat make it easier for you. So then if they didn't choose to somewhat kill you in an easier way, your suffering would go on longer. And as I said, we take off this mask and we enter the real world. My daughter likes to think that, how about one day when we die, who knows, we take off another mask and we realize it was a simulation.
Exactly.
So we don't know if we're in a simulated world within a simulated world. So as I said, we just don't know. We just don't know. We are too simplistic. But yeah, as I said, this collective brain networking and hearing opinions and thoughts. Yeah, I don't disagree. What you say, we have to provocate each other and stimulate each other so that we can see what you're thinking. I need to see what you're thinking. And I don't even we agree to disagree. I need to actually agree. I need to understand your thoughts are your thoughts, and they're real. You know, a parent that brings a child into the world, you know, they think they're a good parent, but the kid says, hey, you weren't so good a parent. If the child says you weren't a good parent, but you think you were a good parent, who's right or wrong? They're both in the right, just different perspectives.
Different perspectives, as we said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely for me, negatives aren't negatives in life. Even if some will think they're negatives. You could call me names, you can say what's what. I'll take a positive from it. I'll reflect on myself and I'll grow as a person, expand. So when hopefully if I get to reach old age, I can pass on a story for next generations to hopefully have some idea of what my life was about. And that's why, as I said, we have to give some credits to our ancestors for where we are now.
Yeah,
You always gotta give credits to the ancestors.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's have some change and I have some hand raises.
Yeah, Empress had her hand up for a while. Go ahead, Empress.
Yeah, and Danielle, I think Danielle. Check. Megaphone check.
Hello?
Oh, she should have one.
1940.
Let me double check.
Okay, Daniela.
I think you gave me one.
Yes. Would you like to say something? I saw a hand raise from you some time ago.
I was, but I didn't want to talk over the other person.
Yeah, it was Empress had hers up first, I believe, right there.
Okay.
You gave the megaphone back.
And I
Yeah,
think
you should have the
Margot
megaphone.
also wanted to say something.
You're just really low. Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
Your volume's pretty low. Hold on. Try it again.
By turning up
Pink.
the volume.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good.
I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear
you
you fine.
good right now.
Right?
Like 1946.
46, that's late.
Okay, I'm gonna have to re-enter. I think I can't hear.
From slavery,
Yeah.
you know, so it makes a certain group, and I mean white you know, people, make them feel
Specifically
good. Okay,
white
we're going to
males,
work.
unfortunately.
We're going to make things good. We're going to feel good. We're going to do this. We're going to quote from the Bible. We're going to change. But nothing changes. That speech was really making me feel good until I realized that it doesn't help and it doesn't refer to anyone. If you don't go back and acknowledge the atrocities that were done and talk about it, how can you ever improve on what's to take place in the future?
Exactly.
It was just yesterday that it was, yeah, you know, it was 100 years since the Black Wall Street massacre occurred, where 400 people were murdered just because they wanted to better
More than that.
themselves.
But and it was atrocities taking place by the United States military. The biggest thing I think about that speech, though, you know, I think it was meant for a certain set of population. And, you know, as someone that's not in that population group, I just hope that it would inspire them to do better. Because, you know, I look back on history's atrocities, and we all know who took part in most of these things, as far as, you know, what's going on in today's world. So I hope, my hope would be that that message that Charlie Chaplin had would inspire that population group to do better. I don't really hear it being a message for me or my ancestors, what we've gone through, but I definitely hear it as a good thing for someone of, you know, another descent, you know, so.
I'm hoping that it does, you know, for the ones that it need to reach and to acknowledge and to finally, you know, maybe start addressing it and stop listening to it and feeling good by it and not doing anything about it.
Again, it's a connective input, isn't it? At one direction. Right now in all this room, you have all of you in front of me. I can't connect in. What I say to you might not connect with another person. So we use the tools around us to connect with individuals. Each individual, small as you are, make a ripple. You throw a little stone into the pond, everything makes a ripple. So each one of us makes a change. And so Charlie Chaplin was just one person, yes, speaking to maybe one type of audience, and we all go through suffering, and our ancestors go through sufferings different ways. Me and this guy here, you're from the northern part of Cyprus, his dad and family, I think, yes? And mine is from the south. You know, once they live together, and we view different things, like I said, it's what connects. I can't make everyone in this room believe what I say, and vice versa. So our inputs come from all directions, and that's necessary. But each person makes a change in their own life, and somebody else's, in particular, sometimes the closest to the ripple has that effect, you know, has output or repercussions.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, we do this. We do this event every week. Yeah. Go. Sure.
Oh,
go ahead.
since the microphone, I grab it might work into the conversation. I kind of changed what I was going to say because I was listening to the last person speaking. I'm trying to put this right. Recently, my close partner passed away about
We're sorry to hear that.
a couple
Sorry
weeks
for you.
ago.
Yes, you have my deepest sympathy, deepest.
I came into here tonight. I really didn't think I was going to jump into this group, but I came in tonight because I needed to be around other people.
Here for you.
And here's the cruelest thing. You know, human beings aren't bad, but we are definitely in a bad system. A system that devalues human beings, and a system that, you know, puts some human beings above others. But when we are all born, we're all born with a value, right? And that value can determine what schools you go to what kind of jobs you can get. But here's the sad part, and this should affect every person in the room, whether you're black or white or any Hispanic or gay, lesbian, trans. We're all going to get to a point where we're older,
Right.
right?
Right.
We're all going to get to a point where that check that we got at birth runs out. Why do you think nursing homes, they put so little into nursing homes, but they put billions into schools?
And
Because by the time you get to the end of your life, your value to them is nothing. Shouldn't that be backwards?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Shouldn't all people be valued?
Right.
But, you know, without a major change to our society and how it works and how it values people, I'm sorry to say, it's going to have to be done with people in groups like this.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for saying what you said earlier. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
United States is the only place where they don't value the aged, the older people, the elderly.
Wrong.
Because in China, older you are, the more you are respected, and the more you are taken care of, and the more you know, they feel that they're responsible for you.
It's true. It's true.
You know, so
in many
that's
countries, the
what
elderly.
we have to take a look at. It's the United States that devalue the elderly.
Well, I think it's all our capitalistic countries do that. Every country that has the capitalistic system kind of does that.
But also,
except those ones that are good in tradition, right?
But also,
like the Chinese.
Say that is 100%.
Amen.
Hold on. I hear some voices, but
yeah.
I think that you still need a microphone.
I'm trying to do it
Ultra
too.
funky
Yeah,
here.
Meta Drifter and Ultra Funky. Okay, I gave
Funky.
Meta Drifter.
I was going to say, this is why you need to build, it's not just relying on governments or systems. You have to build your family. You have to create that ripple
Yes.
effect. So I look after my
That's true.
92-year-old dad. I also look after my sister who's divorced and her 2 children. And I look after my own family. I try to spread myself as much as I can. And I'm now in here with you guys trying to learn more. So it's a very busy day for me, and I'm very tired at the end of the day. But it's my responsibility as well within my world that I create on the outside. My father's part of my world, my wife, my children, my sisters, and obviously it was when my mum passed away. She was that role, figurehead, and it's changed now. And so the baton passes with each passing of life, and so will the changes. And so yes, where there are people that are quite ignorant still and we are still very young species and how we've treated one another. I think evolution is coming, and how it changes, we don't know. Unfortunately, it won't work always for everyone. There's always that yin and yang. But as I said, in your immediate life, you can make the changes. By being responsible, standing up, being bold enough and being brave enough and taking on that responsibility most of all. Responsibility is a huge key factor. And you do that by waking up in the morning and choosing to make that difference, not in your life, but others as well.
I agree. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's a great thought. I agree with that a lot.
Empress,
it's an
I just have to say
individual thing.
something.
Thank you.
Ultra
Empress,
Funky,
I
go
need to
ahead.
say something about the thing you said about look to China and how they value older people. And I'm thinking like this. Even in China, they have been done like this. You had a different culture, and the culture is changing, even in China, Japan, and all that kind of stuff. And what I noticed is that people are going the same way as they do in the States and the rest of the Europe, more alone. They never find their life's partner. They're not pushed in to get married. They say like, you're allowed to have your own, you can have your career and do things. And that makes it harder for people to have the time to do the things they did in the older culture when it was important to to have a family. Now it's not so important anymore. So when you say that in China that the culture or the older people are valued, that is starting to get washed out of the system, that you're alone, nobody's going to care about you, nobody's going to take care of you when you get older because you never raised that family that was so important before. So I say that I think when you're comparing an old system to the new system that it's getting now that we have in the States. So I wouldn't say that that's true, but I think that you're correct in the way that there is a different, and we had it in a different way before, and we value things differently. But everything is moving to that we're not going to value old people because we're not going to have a value because we are not a group, we're not a family. You're just one person. The same thing as Meta Drifter says. You're by yourself, and that makes you less interesting. I'm just saying like that. That's what I just want
I'm
to
not
push
going to
in
be
the way that you were
100%
comparing.
on
Yeah.
everything that I say, but
Yeah.
it's from what I
Yeah.
have seen over the
Yeah,
years.
it's from our
You
propaganda.
know, my wisdom, and
Yep.
it's all based on individuality. And even when in the United States, and I see how, you know, Asian people treat the elderly here, you know, they don't have to be related. But I noticed that I might not get that seat
Can I be
before that
megaphoned?
individual, you know, who's part of their culture would get
You are
that
still
seat.
megaphone.
But okay. I'm
You're
gonna turn
correct
this
in what
off.
you're saying. I'm just saying that we're moving away from it. That's the only thing I'm saying about
Yeah,
it.
and that's because we don't value the marriage institution and raising families like we used to.
True.
But it's an
Yeah.
individual thing. It don't have to be our family. It could be a stranger who's
Yes.
elderly.
Yeah.
You know, we
True.
need to
True.
start
Yeah.
looking
And
at
my
that.
clients just
you
did
know?
that, yeah. And you know that's when you do it throughout the seasons. So in the UK we have during Easter we have the seasons where you go out and you give the harvest festival and you get your food together and you pass it out to those that are in need. I don't like to call it charity, but those that are in need. They're not charity, they're human beings. And ultimately, this is why the holidays are important. Back to that.
Yeah.
Because we have a very busy year, the system is changing. It is unfortunately getting our emotions and our empathic ways are becoming less and less. And so, but if you step out every day and you watch the world, and I'm not that this is where the language is. Sometimes you think cultures can come across very aggressive. Sometimes they're loud and boisterous or bold, and that can be off-putting to many. But when you watch it and its beauty and how you can interact with people and you see them coming together and you listen to the phone calls, I mean, that's one thing you can do in the street. Listen to the telephone calls, how different they are. And ultimately, that's why I said love starts with us first. We have to start
That's true.
with ourselves because it's a chain reaction and who we touch in that world
Exactly.
each day. I can't touch people sometimes now, and they're making it harder with COVID by making us have even less interaction. But in here, we can touch people and we
We
can talk
can.
to well, not
Yes, you
touch.
can.
And
Yeah.
you shouldn't
We can
really
make
want
a
to touch
difference.
people. But we can make a difference. And you shouldn't know everything. And you shouldn't have to get everything 100% right. Some people are more articulate, more educated in a subject matter. But that doesn't mean they're smarter than you. Just because they know
Exactly.
they studied one individual subject better than you. Because if they go into another room, they might not be so educated. So we're all, knowledge, and when we seek it, knowing that you aren't smarter, and that wisdom comes with age and learning and
Wisdom.
understanding and being with all sorts of people, and not people, but life. You go watch, you see a garden, you see the scenery, how it grows, how it moves, the birds, how they talk to each other. And what they do within their worlds. We look at it from a very somewhat narcissistic view, like it's only happening to us and our point of view that matters. But there's a whole system of complexity that we cannot fathom. But what we can do, we can control what we can do. Each individual every day. And you can choose to turn off your TV. You can choose to make contact with your neighbor, with anyone you love, especially during the seasons, especially during the season. And I'm scared right now. I'm talking to you and I'm petrified that I'm getting this all wrong, winding some people
No,
up.
you're not.
But I'm just trying.
got
I'm
it
trying
right.
to
You're
say
getting
that you guys can go out right now after today and ring that person you haven't rang in ages. but you didn't even realize why you fell out with them. And tell them one simple thing. I love you. Like, I just love you. Like, I want to move on. I want this to work. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to move forward, because we're going to get old and we're not going to be here. And that is
Forgiveness
too late.
is so such an
Forgiveness.
awesome
Forgiveness.
thing.
And
Forgiveness.
unfortunately,
I love
yeah,
your
and
thoughts.
unfortunately, I know religious, it comes from a religious constraint of forgiveness, but it's not even
Oh, it's
about
no
forgiveness.
problem,
It's
man.
just moving on, moving on.
It's a personal thing between you and God. But
Yeah.
when you
So
forgive
real
with
quick,
your heart, doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Okay.
Give your heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to say we're nearing the end of our scheduled time, but after that we have like an after party. We hang out, conversate, and we just keep this thing going. Just want to let everybody know we do this every week. Fridays? Every Friday, 2:00. The whole goal of this is just to open up the line of communication against people from around the world. You gotta understand, we all come from different places around the world. Here's a place, an opportunity to share ideas and expand our ways of thinking. And that's what's most important.
Okay.
A good skill that I've used in my own life to move things forward, like what Meta was saying, it's a spiritual principle called pay it forward. It's when you do something for someone and you don't expect shit in return. I live by that and I'm gonna die by that. So anyway, go ahead.
That's
Anyway.
right. I like it.
Yeah, thanks guys for joining.
That's
So
it.
we're
This
gonna
is
start
very
getting people
empathic.
megaphones
That's it.
and everything else. It might get a little
Definitely.
chaotic.
Not expecting anything back. Exactly that. Just do what makes you happy. A lot of psychologists I hear, like they teach you to say no to things, and that's our problem. We say no to everything. I'm scared now. My wife, I said you should come on with me tonight and talk, and she's like, no. I'm petrified right now. My legs are shaking, my heart is racing, and I'm just talking, and I'm scared. I'm nervous, and I'll get off here and I'll be buzzing that I was brave enough to speak up, and hopefully. Meta Drifter isn't my name, but hopefully, I've left some kind of something nice.
Go
When you
ahead and
get
tell us
on
your
Yeah,
name.
definitely.
So we know you.
Definitely.
Oh,
Yeah, hope
my
to
name's
see
Steph.
you.
Second
Yeah,
guess
anytime
yourself.
again.
It's
Just come back. We have the same
Stefanos,
poster,
but
so
yeah, Steph.
yeah. Yeah, that's why I value this space, like, and we create this space to speak and, express yourself, because at least in this world, we can be ourselves, some parts of ourselves. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go because I
part
really
of
like
that,
your
so.
idea of spending time with the loved ones, so I'm gonna spend some time with
Yes,
my
I'm
husband.
going exactly that.
There
I'm
you go.
about to go spend time with my wife.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And don't
See you
second guess
around.
yourself.
Thanks for
You are
coming, guys.
awesome.
Oh,
You made
thank
a
you.
difference.
Good, bro.
Okay.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
you're welcome
Thank you
back
so much,
anytime,
guys.
man.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you
I
all
really
who
do
shared.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
everybody who
Have a
listened
safe-
too.
Bye, everyone.